sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to the Gameweek 26 Sunday live stream on Elite FPL, and joining me today is the one and only Dan. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good, mate. How are you getting on? You okay?
Yeah, I'm great. I would much prefer to be 30 minutes into the Man City game, talking about how I don't own Aguero with Steve-O, but alas, we don't have a game to talk about, other than the game earlier on, of course, where we saw Bournemouth again struggle. But just to kind of explain the reasoning why, it's pretty apparent. The postponement of the game at 4:30 today, Man City versus West Ham. basically a safety concern. For those who don't know, who don't live in the UK, there's a storm going on at the moment. Storm Kira, I believe it's called. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's been pretty bad outside today. The wind's blowing. You can see just there a bit of wind, but nowhere near as bad as it has been. Apparently, there's been blue skies at Manchester now, and it's kind of eased off a little bit, but. Earlier on today, they made the decision, and that was based on the fact of severe flooding on the motorways, severe travel disruption as well. The M62 shut or restricted due to traffic collisions and floods. Apparently, a place called Woodhead is shut. M60 has been flooded in a number of areas. Reports as well that there's floods in the city centre. A tree on Twitter was posted that had been uprooted and onto the pavement, and you can imagine if there was hundreds or maybe just a couple of Man City fans travelling to the stadium, could have posed a little bit. No joking, really. This is quite a safety concern, and that's what happens. They have to make these decisions. For FPL fans and managers, it's disappointing. I think most people had Manchester City assets, maybe even a couple, especially if you owned Aguero, most likely to have one of Aguero, Mahrez, KDB, maybe even a defender. I feel sorry for you guys. I feel really sorry for you. I mean, you couldn't have anticipated this happening, really. But yeah, Dan, what's your thoughts on that?
It's just disappointing, mate. Yeah, like you said, it's wet, windy day. Was ironically looking forward to tuning in to your live stream and maybe joining on Discord. But obviously a pleasure to be back as a guest host. But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, obviously we'll go into it more later on, but I was really hoping that Mahrez would do something because he's my big differential. And it's a bit worrying now, knowing whether or not this game is going to be played in this game week. If it's not, then it's a blank for those players. And obviously most people got De Bruyne. Steve-O's got Aguero as captain. So it's just disappointing, really. And the fact that Bournemouth lost as well. And we'll talk about Lundstram as well, which you're obviously so happy about. I can see your grins coming out there. So
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Before the chat, I mean, I read earlier on in the chat. I think it was Salah that said that people playing Lundstram got really lucky. I mean, yes, I can't disagree with that. He wasn't starting. The fact that I'd already done a transfer, taking Gaeta out, bringing Alisson in, which hopefully will pay off, by the way. Meant that I would have had to do a -4, and I really don't want to take a -4 taking Lundstram out. I mean, I brought him in at 4.4 million.
Well, I did.
Yeah, I don't want to do things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I still think he's a quality player that can be an impact sub for Sheffield United. I mean, it was a toss-up between him and Cathcart, and it was always really going to be Lundstram because he offers that attacking threat, even though he isn't starting the games. For those of you who watch Sheffield United, honestly watch Sheffield United. When Lundstram plays, he is really involved, and he dictates a lot of play. He's really gets into attacking positions, and I am lucky. I am lucky that I had Lundstram in, but maybe if I had done a free transfer, it may be different. Maybe I would have brought in someone else for him. But I'm fortunate for I've had a lot of bad luck over Christmas period, so I'm grateful to have a bit of good luck. And like I said, Aguero again. It's a love-hate relationship with Aguero. Obviously, it's not his fault that the game's been postponed. Obviously, he went off. It wasn't his fault that he got subbed off for a defender last game week either, when City went down to 10 men. So he has got the ability to get you a massive point haul, but it seems really unpredictable this season. Really, really unpredictable. A crazy game week. That's what was said in chat. An absolute crazy game week for a crazy, crazy season. That's the only real thing I can say about it. It's been a crazy season.
I'm already annoyed with this game week, and we've only had 3 games. The fact that I took Lundstram out, and I felt when he didn't start today, I saw it and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm so glad. And Bournemouth were winning as well, and I really wanted Bournemouth to win this game. And And then I was on the FPL app about 82 minutes into the game. It was 1-1, and then obviously Lundstram scores, and it's just not my season. I mean, I bought Gomez in. That could still pay off. It could still level out. Away to Norwich, you'd expect. It'll probably be the game that Liverpool's clean sheet record goes. Bit similar to the fact when I bought Ings in, he scored for 10 games in a row, and then he blanks in 3 game weeks. So, but yeah, I mean, when it does seem to be the way with FPL that when you're on form, things are going your way a little bit, and you're making good decisions, and you're getting that little bit of luck. Because let's be honest here, throughout the season, you do need luck.
Yeah,
and
definitely,
and that's part of the game. So it's just the way it goes. And like last night, I know we'll sort of touch on this now. Obviously, Watford drew with Brighton. I was watching Match of the Day, and I was thinking, right, Watford are ahead. I did the whole Match of the Day challenge, and Watford seemed in real control of that game and dominating the game. Brighton had a few sort of, little chances here, not clear chances. And then, of course, with about 10, 12 minutes ago, whatever it was, Mariappa, his own goal was about as good as Dinier's own goal against Brighton or for Brighton earlier in the season, where he just fires it into his net when the cross comes over. So you're just thinking, roll on the next game.
I mean, to be fair, it's just you hit the nail on the head. It is about luck, and we'll just talk about luck, and we'll talk about Steve-O's in the chat. He's not happy. Steve-O did a tweet about 48 minutes ago now, speaking his mind, and I'll just play it for you guys. Here it is.
It's parental advisory.
Yeah.
Tweet or whatever it is.
Be quiet, man. Be quiet. We're gonna listen to. Here we go. I'm gonna turn him up.
Bit of a boring story, but I'm going to share this anyway. So I was just on the phone to Jason, a wonderful conversation while he was setting up all the new graphics to obviously my stream setup, just like he has it. And towards the end of the conversation, he said, "Oh no, Lundstrom's come off the bench," and I laughed and went, "Don't worry, he'll probably do something for you, in your luck." Well, fuck.
Oh damn it! I was gonna pause it, but yeah, that's Steve-O's take on the of the Lundstram goal, and it was a very scuffed goal. I actually caught the end of the game when just as they were showing highlights of the goal, and it was really a scuffed shot into the bottom corner, really. But you've got to be there to make the chance happen, and he did, and he got on the end of it. So I'm happy. I'm really happy. Jammy goal, says Yassine. I mean, like I said, I'm lucky. I'm a very lucky person. I'm on 18. I'm on 18 points. It looks like Cathcart will be coming off my bench for De Bruyne. Now, this is another thing that people want to know. Everybody that's tuned in, everyone that's in Discord, everyone that's on Twitter. Most FPL fans want to know, when is this Man City game going to be played? And we're talking about Man City, that if they progress into the later stages of the Champions League, we're looking at really few opportunities for them to play this rescheduled game versus West Ham. I still think there's a chance that they'll play it next week. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday next. I don't know. I think I've been hearing that it takes up to 10 days apparently to reschedule a fixture. I don't know how long it takes. But I've also been hearing stuff like there's no chance that it's going to play. There's no chance that they're going to be able to play in this so-called winter break. I think the problem is that you've got fans that obviously arrange transport, you've got the catering, you've got all the logistics that goes into planning a fixture that we're not privy to as the average Joe. But you've got fans that obviously may have taken time off work, so they have to give a decent amount of time or a notice to the fans. They can't just give 24-hour notice and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to play Monday. We're going to play Monday evening," and I don't think they could do that anyway, logistically, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. I have no clue when this fixture is going to be played. Someone mentioned Gameweek 36 on Twitter. So there's been rumours in Discord. Someone was posting stuff in Discord. A Man City season ticket holder. Apparently, this is again from Twitter, so take it with a pinch of salt. I think this is a parody. Because he also suggests that Aguero is going to play 3 games, 90 minutes each game, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it looks to me like it's a joke. But they're saying the game week 36. But that to me just seems like too far away. I have literally got no idea. I wish I could tell you guys when I think it's going to be played. I don't know. Well, I honestly don't.
I mean, obviously City were meant to play today, and if they were to play the game during the week, then that winter break goes to them, doesn't it? Really, they can't go away anywhere, so maybe that comes to factor in for it as well. So it kind of it leaves us all speculating, and just if they don't play it this game week, then it's going to be like, oh, it's just going to be awful. Like Mahrez, De Bruyne, no points. It's just, and the players have got on the bench as well are just fodder. So
right, so
just praying it's going to be this.
Ben Crellin, who is almost one of the highest respectable kind of fixture spreadsheet king on Twitter. I don't even know if the Premier League even know when this fixture is going to play yet. I don't even know if they've had that decision yet. So Man City again. It does centre around their other competitions that they're in, like the Champions League. But he's tweeted out an hour ago that Man City could easily get. Let's just bring it up on the screen here. So he tweeted out. Let's get back. Man City could get easily 4 postponements, and there's a decent chance that they'll only have 4 free midweeks to play them in. So they could do something like Man City versus West Ham on February the 18th and 19th, Gameweek 26. Which I was thinking is a likely fixture for me, 18th and 19th of February. So Tuesday, Wednesday. So not Tuesday, Wednesday next week, but the week after. I think that's the most likely fixture date for me. If I was going to put money on it, I think it would be February 18th, 19th. But I'm sure people in chat would tell me there's reasons why that can't happen. Chelsea versus Man City obviously is going to be a possible reschedule there for March 10th. And he goes on to talk about Game Week 29. He's also talking about other postponements there, which we don't even want to go into at the moment. It's just mainly the West Ham one. I think that due to the congestion of fixtures, they're going to have to. I think they ain't got much choice but to play it on the February 18th, 19th. So yeah, like I said, if I was going to put money on it, I would say that would be the ideal fixture, and I think that's going to be the key thing now for the Premier League to be in touch with the Champions League, UEFA. I don't know, Anurag. I don't know. Premier League, it's a rule that clubs can't schedule games during their winter break. I've read somewhere. That was the case. It's just really frustrating. But understandably, they can't come out now and say it's going to be on this date, because like you've said, Anurag, in chat, they've got to talk and communicate with other competitions. They've got to speak to both clubs involved. They've got to speak about, it's about the fans as well. The fans need to have a way, have decent amount of notice as well to plan their trips. I mean, the major things today was obviously the storm causing problems to the major traffic transportation routes up to Manchester for the West Ham fans in particular. I mean, you're talking about the trains being out of service, severe flooding on the motorways. Is it really worth it for a football game? So just so we can get our points, just so Steve-O can get his hat trick. I got it for Steve-O. I really am. I'm genuinely gutted for Steve-O. I'd be really annoyed. I think I've been let off the hook because it was only a few weeks ago that I had Aguero myself. But Steve-O said to me in the Skype call we had earlier on, because I was setting up the graphics for him. And by the way, guys, when he goes live, it's going to look a lot better. The thing is, a lot of people got Salah as their vice captain, so it's going to be a game week it's just going to be more of a Dillard game week. I mean, yes, you will have unfortunate souls that have got De Bruyne as their vice captain, like Magnus Carlsen that someone mentioned in chat earlier on. That's unfortunately got Aguero De Bruyne combo as vice. So yeah, I feel sorry for those people. But there could be even more of a plot twist. Imagine this, guys, ladies and gentlemen. What happens if Aguero doesn't play this game week and Salah gets benched, gets rested, and doesn't play away at Norwich, people are going to be in uproar. People will be in uproar.
Why would he wouldn't be rested though, would he? Like they rested them against. Well, he didn't play a team against.
It's unlikely. Well, I say I'm not going.
Players in the cup game, didn't they? So
I mean, it's.
And they still won.
It's not outside the realms of possibility, but it is unlikely. And in which case, I'd rely on Alexander-Arnold to come up with the goods. But it's just the way the season's going. I wouldn't really like it. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the end of the drama of Gameweek 26. You know, I think that there's such a topsy-turvy roller coaster season this season in particular. We got teams that have, you know, well within the top 5,000 in the world, and they've got abstract players in their team, like the likes of Haller, for example, for West Ham. You know, I just think that Pepe or something for Arsenal. No, but I need Aubameyang to do the goods, mate. I really do. I really hope he does well against Newcastle. But anyway, moving away from the Man City game, we don't know any more than that at the moment. But keep an eye on all the main social media hubs for the clubs. They're going to have to come out with some sort of a date very soon, I'd imagine.
I don't know if you've seen these comments in chat about apparently Mohamed Salah's wife has had a baby.
Yeah.
Obviously he's daddy now, whether or not, like a bit with Vardy when his missus had a kid and everything. Whether but that didn't do a lot. He'll just do the whole Bebeto celebration when he scores. You know, if people can remember that. When he gets his hat trick,
and then get a yellow card for taking his t-shirt off.
Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, if I was that ripped, I'd probably take my t-shirt off more often. So,
I don't have that problem either.
I mean, should we talk about the Everton Palace game yesterday?
Yeah. So let's again, we're literally gonna just gloss over what happened between Everton and Palace. People who own Calvert-Lewin, like myself, very happy that he managed to grab a late. He almost got a second in the dying embers of the game. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin with a goal and assist. Richarlison goal and assist. Richarlison, I read somewhere. No, was it on? I think it was the official game tweeted out that he's the highest scoring player under 10 million. Richarlison.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Is he a player that you're considering going forward, Dan?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, at the moment, you know, it's kind of a case of bit of a wait and see. I mean, I've got Mahrez, De Bruyne, Salah, so it's quite a heavy midfield. And then I've obviously got Fleck and Redmond in there, so I'd have to do a bit of surgery to get him in. But he's coming into form, and he's looking ever since Ancelotti's taken over. He is looking lively, and he could have had a couple more goals yesterday. The only other thing that was amazing from that game as well is Theo Walcott can actually cross a ball. After watching him play for Arsenal for so many years, when he whipped that cross in for Bernard's goal, it was absolutely fantastic. And I thought, he never did that for Arsenal. I mean, he could finish, but his crossing was never that good. But yeah, Richarlison was a good shout.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think anyone here can celebrate a Theo Walcott assist. Because it means absolutely nothing to them. But no, fair play. I mean, he got an assist. I mean, when was the last time he scored? Does anyone actually know that? Has anyone actually got that data? That'd be really interesting to know. But yeah, Theo Walcott, he's just gone downhill, hasn't he? Really, since leaving Arsenal.
He's been around forever, and you got to remember that he came to Arsenal when he was 16.
Yeah.
And now he's done this whole David Hay thing with his hair as well. I think he's just sort of happy to be playing now and then. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at my midfield now: Mahrez, Salah, Redmond, De Bruyne, Fleck, and then obviously Aubameyang, Ings up top to get him to get Richarlison in. I've got 1.9 million in the bank, actually. So depending on what Redmond does against Burnley, that could be a potential upgrade. Redmond to
Richarlison seems.
It does sound good. I mean, they've got. Looking at it here,
your microphone's gone really loud. I don't know why. You switch it on and off, or
No,
That's better. That's better. That's better. That's
It's because I
better.
went like that. Yeah, they've got Man United coming up. They've got Chelsea away. They've got Liverpool at home. They've got Leicester, Spurs. They've got some tough fixtures. They've got Norwich away in game week 31, and they've got us as well in game week 27. So it's a bit tough there, really. That might be a bit more testing.
Yeah. So we've got to let Redmond play, really, haven't you, and see how they do. Yeah, but Everton's fixtures, they're not the greatest. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of reds coming up. Arsenal away, is that really a red? I don't know. Man United at home.
Hold on, we've got a good record at home to Everton, so I think it's still.
Well, Man United
managing to get Arsenal bashing into a game week when they're not even played yet.
I mean, just because they look red. I mean, Man United at home. Chances of a Man United clean sheet there. I don't know. I think we're conceding. We're conceding, and so is Chelsea.
That is.
That
is the thing. Like,
let me just call you back because your microphone's gone really distorted. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Yeah. The fixtures are red. But he's looking pretty. He's looking pretty decent. See if Dan's microphone's improved. Dan, I hope you are. Whoa.
Hello.
Whoa. Hello, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good. You were just slagging off Arsenal. Obviously.
No, I wasn't, mate. I wasn't.
No, I think Everton probably score against us. It'll probably be another draw. Every game with the rest of Arsenal season will be a draw. The way it's going at the moment.
Well, who knows? But okay, I've got Calvert-Lewin, and I'm not necessarily looking to transfer him out just yet because he's playing. Obviously, he's playing in that game week, isn't he? Is it 28? It is 28, isn't it? Yeah, 28.
I came on yesterday about Calvert-Lewin. I think it's when I came on your stream before, and I called him a B-Tech Walcott, and ever since then, he's been scoring every game week. So I think I got my comeuppance there.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, that's fine. I can hear you perfectly fine. No, I was just reading Steve-O's comment in chat saying, "Can you?" Right, I'll do that in a minute, Steve-O. I thought you were supposed to be sleeping, Steve-O. Come on, get on here, mate. Get on live. Tell us how annoyed you are. Come on Discord and let everyone know how annoyed you are at lunchtime. No, Brighton versus Watford. Quickly just gloss over that. Decore getting the goal for Watford there. And it was an own goal, wasn't it? Mariappa own goal to give Brighton.
It's just like because Watford were working really hard and closing Brighton down, and they seemed to be in control of the game. And like I said, Brighton, Murray started. Obviously, Mupai didn't start, so that was disappointing for a lot of Mupai owners. But Mupai came on. In sort of like the last 20 minutes, Brighton changed things around. Trossard whipping a few balls in, but it didn't really. I remember Foster making one decent save, and that was about it. And they seemed to be quite secure. And then the cross came over. Mariappa doesn't look, and then just slams it into his own goal. Like it was similar to the Digne one, if you remember that one for Brighton. Ironically, actually, that's another own goal for Brighton this season. It was just really disappointing owning Foster, but Foster's probably initially one of the best things I did with my wildcard when I brought him in, and Watford were getting some clean sheets, away to Bournemouth, home to Man United. Sorry to remind you. We've still got that bet on, haven't we, actually, about who's going to finish higher, Man United or Arsenal?
Well, neither team really want to push for it, fight for it. But no, I mean, we'll be interested. I think we'll be we're waiting to see who wins the bet coming up to like the last.
They'll probably finish on
last game week. Last game week will be decided probably. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? But I just want, just 1-1 Brighton, Watford. Pretty disappointing, like you said, for people that own Ryan or Foster. Mupai as well, disappointing for those people that brought Mupai in. Obviously, Glenn Murray starting that game. Mupai coming off the bench and doing absolutely nothing. Deeney also not doing anything for those people that own him. Sheffield United played today, the earlier kickoff, winning 2-1 over Bournemouth. Like you said, you were hoping that Bournemouth might be able to scrape a win in this fixture. They started off. They scored first, didn't they?
Yeah, Callum Wilson got
the goal, the elusive goal that he seems to be really needing to get his confidence back up. And then all of a sudden, Bichat comes back with an equaliser. And who else but Lord Lundstram off the bench to seal the victory there for Sheffield United. And notable mentions to Mousset, who got an assist. Egan as well. People bringing Egan in, getting an assist. Harry Wilson getting an assist for Bournemouth. Not that anyone, I think, owns in at the moment. Ramsdale with 3 saves to get a save point there. But the bonuses obviously going with Billy Sharp in that game. Callum Wilson on 2 and Egan on 1. Thoughts of that game? Like you said earlier on, disappointing with Bournemouth. Is Sheffield United gonna get European football?
Very possibly, yeah. The way they're going at the moment, obviously beating Crystal Palace away, now beating Bournemouth. They just seem to be like this, I'm going to say well-oiled machine, but they play good football. And when you were saying about Lundstram as well, I've had him for so long, and then obviously he's not been starting the last few games, and I felt quite confident in my decision to get rid of him and bring Gomez in. And I still had some money left over, and then you're just thinking, well, as I say, put the game on. Lundstram's not started. Bournemouth will win in. Happy days. Leave the game. Go back to it later on. 82 minutes on the FPL app, and Lundstram comes off the bench and he gets this scrappy win. It just like.
Well, I even said, like Steve-O mentioned, I didn't expect anything from Lundstram, and the fact that I said to Steve-O myself was like, oh great, Lundstram's coming on to give me 1 point. That's, obviously it's irrelevant because De Bruyne is unlikely to play, so I'd have Cathcart coming on anyway. But I was like, even Cathcart's outscored Lundstram by 1 point. And I was, I'm probably going to have to rely on the likes of Williams for United to come off my bench. And if he doesn't, which there's a chance he won't even play, it'll be good old Dendoncker Leander Dendoncker to try and get me my 2 points, my standard 2 points. That is if maybe even a clean sheet point, but I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, let's just quickly look at Aman Dillon, because I'm up against Aman Dillon in the Champions League this week. It's the rematch. I beat him in the first game. He's looking to beat me now. I don't know where he is in the Champions League. Let's see if I can find him, because the table's really close at the moment. There he is, Space Monkeys. He's on 4 points. Aman Dillon. Right, so there's a reason why I haven't seen you. Aman, are you in the chat by any chance? You're on 4 points at the moment from 2 players. So it's not looking great. You own De Bruyne like a lot of people. You've got Salah captain. Oh, so really then, Aman, you need Firmino to get you some massive, massive points. Because I own Grealish, I own Son, and I own Jimenez and Alexander-Arnold. So unless Stevens pull something out of the bag along with Firmino, it's looking likely that I'm going to win my Champions League game. But I don't want to say it just yet, but it's looking likely. So I'm pretty confident at the moment looking at Aman Dillon's team. Aman, if you're there, please give me your thoughts, or in the replay, if you comment, let me know.
Who have I got? Because we looked at it yesterday and I was on like 0 points. Who have I got to play now?
Oh, God, I thought you could tell me that. Who are you playing? Do you know you're playing?
No, I haven't got a clue. Like I said, if you had 0 points in your group and you were like rock bottom, would you want to know?
Are you trying to finish the group stages on 0?
I'm trying to get relegated to the Elite FPL Europa League. That's what I'm trying to do.
That'll be a wooden spoon, mate. We'll give you a wooden spoon if you do that. I'll print Elite FPL on a wooden spoon and send it out to you. It's not going to happen, Dan. I need my wooden spoon. I don't want to give it away. But no, to be fair, I count myself very lucky. But you make your own luck in FPL, and Calvert-Lewin was always going to get me a goal and assist, wasn't he? He was always going to do it. I'm looking forward to seeing Aurier and Son play, because I consider Aurier a little bit of a dark horse. I think he can get the assists, and even maybe a clean sheet against Aston Villa. So Son as well. I'm thinking the 3 players on the right hand side of my team are the ones that I'm looking to get serious points from. Aurier, Son and Aubameyang. If they can pull out the points, then I'm going to see a massive green arrow. At the moment, as it stands, I'm looking at a green arrow so far to 340, around about 345,000. So if I can finish the game week at within the top 300,000, I'm thinking it's a massive, massive success. And I'm only 109 points off of top 10k, so here we go. Top 10k, we can do this. Top 100k, I think, is achievable. My original goal for the season was to finish within the top 100k, and I still think I'm well within the. I can still do it. What's this here? I just realised you can't watch stream. You can't watch the stream on Discord, GM, but you can come on to Discord to talk to us when we do call-ins. And Mr. Anderson, of course, he is first in the Cash League. He is Amandillon. What else are people saying in the chat? Dan, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I'm just going to put my team up in the
I'll put it up on the. I'll bring your team up. I've got your team here. Let's bring it up, okay. Dan.
Without the filter.
Without the filter, this is an unfiltered Dan's team.
That'd be an unfiltered opinion on it.
You did a -4, took out Lundstrom. That has really got to hurt. But Gomez could miraculously get a header or something, even though he doesn't go up for corners. But I know a fluky assist, maybe the wind catches it or something. God, yeah. How are you feeling? Foster, Sidibe played. Obviously, Sidibe coming off the bench.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at it at the moment. I mean, this whole thing with the Man City game just throws the game week into turmoil for a lot of us, really. Yeah. I think everyone's got Salah as captain. I don't know what the percentage is. And, doubling up on Liverpool defence away to Norwich, that could really pay off. Fleck, it's just an enabler. It's just a cheap enabler, really. 5 million. He'll get the occasional assist or occasional goal. I'm not too bothered. But it is, as I was saying, that Southampton-Burnley game, Danny Ings hoping that goal against Tottenham, which he took really well, that will give him the confidence and he'll get a goal against Burnley. Sorry, Steve-O. Really need Aubameyang to haul at home to Newcastle. Obviously, his home form last season was brilliant. He blanked away to Burnley in the last game week, so that was really disappointing. Redmond as well I brought in just as a little bit of a punt. He did return against Crystal Palace in the game week. I think it's game week 24. So, and once again, he looks really lively against Spurs. Does feel like I'm basing a lot on this Spurs Southampton Cup game, but Redmond, he does have his little purple patches, and the fixtures going forward for Southampton, they're pretty good. So, and it's the same for us as well. We've got 3 home games coming up, Arsenal that is, and once again, I feel fairly confident. I had Hudson-Odoi in, returned a few game weeks, but I just thought, do you know what? I don't really feel that confident with him going forward. Why not take a gamble? And like you said yesterday, it does get to a point, if you're having a bad season, where you just think, do you know what? Why not I just take a little risk on these players here? It's the only way I'm going to rise up in the league. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a bit of fun playing this game. I mean, you can take it really seriously, but sometimes the most satisfaction you can have is when you bring in a player that not everyone's talking about, you feel is going to go on a bit of a scoring streak. I mean, you can hold faith with players for too long, or you can get players in too early. Look at me with Aguero, for example. And, the faith in holding on to players at the right time, prior to his hat-trick, paying off and getting rid afterwards. And fortunately, I got rid of him at the right... I know he scored after I got rid of him, but since that game, he's obviously not really returned. So I think for me, like Aubameyang, and for you as well, because of people doubling up with Salah, Mane in midfield, they've gone cheaper up front. Like maybe, I say cheaper, but like Vardy, Jimenez as options up front with Ings, for example. Like you've got Ings as well, and you've got Aubameyang. And I know as an Arsenal fan, you're gonna even even more going to be enjoying that if he is to get a goal or two in that game. I think Newcastle will concede a few goals in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle have been really solid the last few games, getting some really good results. And I think it will be a tight game, but I just got this feeling that, Aubameyang, let's be honest here, his home form against no disrespect, but the lesser teams has always been really strong since he came into the Premier League. So I'm kind of basing it on that, and it is a must-win game for Arsenal to try and at least get back up in the league and finish respectably for the season. But yeah, I mean, I took Mane out because I was kind of panicking, thinking obviously he wasn't going to play against Southampton, and then obviously going into this game against Norwich, after that they've got the Champions League game against Atletico Madrid. So in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe they might just not want to risk him for that game. They might just bring him on for like the last 20, 30 minutes. So I was just thinking, do you know what? I can't afford to have a premium midfielder in there and he won't play for 2 games. Look at Arsenal's fixtures going forward. Need to take a gamble. And like you said, I think it gets to a point, if you're not doing that well in the season, you just want to get in players.
Yeah, well, if you're not doing that well, there's no point bringing in the template players that everyone else has got, because you're not going to gain. You're not going to gain rank. But on the flip side, you're going to be punished if they don't do well. But yeah, carry on, Dan. Sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, what I mean is the team you support. So obviously, you, United, me for Arsenal. When I look at it, Newcastle at home, Everton at home, West Ham at home, Brighton away, Southampton away, Norwich at home.
Brilliant fixtures.
Those fixtures are, they're favourable.
Yeah.
Arsenal this season, now we are we'll probably lose. We could lose away to Southampton because that is a game where we've struggled in the past. Everton will be a tough game. And it's the Premier League, but I just feel that Aubameyang could return in all of those games. Obviously, he's not going to return every game. That'll be incredible. And
there's only one player that you want in your team attacking-wise there's only one player, full stop, that you really want in your team from Arsenal at the moment anyway. Defensively, you wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. Up front, there was obviously the Lacazette fan club that, by the way, have gone really quiet. So if you're watching, we know that Aubameyang's got the ability to score goals. He is frustrating though, because he normally just gets to 1. If he went on these crazy 2, every now and again gets a brace, I think he'd be looked at a little bit more seriously by FPL managers. But I think that when you have the likes of Vardy scoring for fun, Jimenez getting his goals, Ings as well this season being really consistent, Aubameyang's just been kind of thrown at the bottom of the sort of consideration pile, really. But like you said, the fixtures are prime for him, and I think that like me, you're getting him in at the right time.
Well, let's not forget, last season he was joint top goal scorer in the Premier League, obviously with Salah and Mane. And we have been struggling this season. Let's be honest, Arsenal have been struggling. Some games he's looked really isolated, and when Lacazette's been injured, he's looked frustrated and not being able to link up with him. And then Lacazette himself has been off form. He hasn't scored for so long. He's obviously had these off the field problems as well. That have been well publicised. So that all seems to have had an effect on obviously the stop-start season. So hopefully, with this break in Dubai that they've got at the moment, which looks really nice compared to the weather here today, he'll be able to return. But going back to Southampton.
Yeah. It's a big for you this game week, Southampton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to have
same as Boona, really.
Double up. Yeah, I mean, I know Boona was saying about Redmond and Ings, and it's just, that game, it will be a tough game. If you gave me a free bet, I'd go for a draw. I'm just hoping, obviously, that Ings gets a goal and that's it, really. But they've got Burnley.
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Just want to say thank you to Gabriel. Gabriel DeRop, thank you for becoming a member. And supporting the stream. Thank you. More members videos will be coming. I posted one up last night of a kind of a memoir to 2019-20 season so far. Had some hilarious clips of our past streams in there. Thank you to John Harris for providing me with those clips. So if you are a member of the channel, please go check that out. Possibly check out after this stream. You can find it in the community section of the Elite FPL YouTube page. Sorry, Dan, carry on.
It's hilarious, that clip, by the way. I was laughing my head off it. I played it twice. So, but yeah, I mean, Southampton at home to Burnley, home to Villa, away to West Ham, then they got Newcastle, then away to Norwich, home to us, and I think they can. It's funny you say about like the red ticker, or I don't know who, when you look at it, that can be quite deceptive. But in my eyes, Southampton can score against Arsenal, and they've got a good record against us.
Yeah.
At home in previous season, then away to Watford.
I see that game as being goals for both teams.
Yeah.
I really do see it maybe even a bit of a goal fest. Two or more goals for either team.
And then they've got away to Watford, and they've got that as a green, which in my eyes that's a tough game for Southampton. But as I say, just setting the team up, with the next games coming up, Aubameyang, Ings, they just look like the fixtures they've got going forward are really good, so I'm quite happy with that, really.
Yeah, I concur. Really, I think that again, it's just see how this game week how it ends up, because obviously we're 3 games in. We should have been 4 games. We're 3 games in. There's plenty more games to go. Looks like you're going to be looking at Greenwood and Maitland-Niles playing for you. So you're gonna have, is Maitland-Niles going to?
No, Bellerin obviously has come back in now. Maitland-Niles was...
He's going to be on the bench, isn't he?
Yeah, he was doing quite well, Maitland-Niles. He had a really good game away to Palace. He nullified Zaha in that game.
Man, so it looks like you're going to be fielding... I mean, assuming a Greenwood comes on, because if you are tuning in, guys, it's looking incredibly unlikely that they're going to be able to schedule the Man City game in. It's not official. I'm sure the Premier League will try and get it sorted out as soon as possible, but prepare for the worst is my real advice on that one. But in terms of Mahrez, De Bruyne not playing for you,
oh my God.
Greenwood is... I think Greenwood will come off the bench against Chelsea. I don't know how much comfort you'll get from that. Might grab a goal or just standard 1 point, but...
Well, you beat them 4-0 in the reverse game at Old Trafford right at the start of the season. It was like, Ollie's back and United.
Yeah.
That seems a long time ago now.
Right at the beginning, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, first game of the season.
Yeah, right at the beginning of the season. It does seem a long time ago. The season does seem to have gone on for a long time, and I think I'm getting sick of Liverpool just not dropping points. I think, when will this ever end? But no, I think you've got some good foundations in that team. It's very unfortunate with the Mahrez, De Bruyne. But again, a lot of people are in the same boat as you.
What do you and people in chat think about Gomez going forward? He's owned by 5.2%. He's been, he got 6 points, 6 points, 2 points, 6 points, 6 points, 6 points, 8 points, 5 points, 8. You get the idea.
I mean, Gomez for Liverpool is. You would say that there's the outside chance that Matip may come in for the odd game. Mm-hmm. Will he come in for Premier League games like against lesser opposition? Will Klopp want to go unbeaten the whole season? I think in the back of his mind he's going to try and make that happen, because it's an accolade, isn't it? It's one hell of an accolade.
Yeah, it's the one that we
still talk about the invincible Arsenal team now, don't we? And can I see Liverpool doing it? Unfortunately, I can. But if they don't rotate too much, I think if they get a bit complacent, they start doing, they take out Salah, bring in Shaqiri in, they play Lallana more, they bring in Matip.
Maybe some of the players,
or the youngsters, yeah.
They did
Brewster,
well.
Bring Brewster in.
Jones.
I think that who's the defender? Is it a defender? No, the defender for Liverpool. I'm not a Liverpool fan, so I don't know. What's his name? Is Van something? It's not.
Is it Van der Berg?
No, it's not Van der Berg, is it?
I don't know. He's like Ed Sheeran, isn't he, at the back or whatever?
It's not Van Dijk, it's Van someone else. But yeah, he's someone in chat probably let me know. In Van der Vaart, yeah, Van der Sar. Who knows with Gomez? I think that everyone's saying Van Persie. There we go, Vincent. Yeah,
don't stop.
It is. I think you're right. Cathal in chat saying Seep Van Den Berg was the Van Dan Ball.
He played in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, a few days ago. Van Nistelrooy. Everyone's just saying Van.
Go on now.
Yeah, there's a few there. Brewster's on loan at Swansea. I do apologise. Brewster is on loan to Swansea.
The only concern with that Norwich game, though, is the fact that they've got Atletico Madrid soon after. So with the league pretty much wrapped up, maybe there could be. Imagine that Gomez doesn't play, and it's just like, that would just be.
I mean, that would be really that to me that would just be really unfortunate. It would be unfortunate. I don't know if I would. Thing is, I don't see an issue there. I don't see an issue. I can't see him going as being dropped. You watch, it'll happen now. But I think he'll keep playing him. And play Matip here and there in the cup competitions.
Well, yeah, they played. They played Matip and Lovren away to Shrewsbury, and Lovren got done by that Joker player for Shrewsbury, the blonde guy that came on and he tore him apart. So based on that performance, I'd say Gomez should be safe, but. I feel like I've jinxed it now live on air, but hopefully...
Yeah, don't jinx it, mate. Don't jinx it. Van Basten, Van Hoover, Van Halen, Vanden Ball says Pete Smith. Hey Pete, how you doing, buddy? Van Dijk. Yeah, there's been a lot of Vans in the Premier League over the years. Good evening, the Daily Llama. Good evening. We need to get Daily Llama back on the streams. One of the amazing content that we do on our FPL live shows is when Llama's been sent to a obscure stadium to watch a drab game. I think with the Bovril, absolutely with the Bovril. So Llama, we'll have to arrange to get you one. Hopefully, if you're free. You've probably been busy, but we'll be interested to see what your thoughts are with this game week as well, being interrupted by a storm. FPL Booner's in chat as well. Van Lundstrom. FPL Booner there with obviously Shane Long and Ings. Raised a few eyebrows. I know that not Davey FPL, what am I talking about? Davey P was giving him a bit of jip, doubling up on Shane Long and Ings, but who knows? It could pay off for him. Van der Merde.
The Everton play.
Yeah. We're just going to go through all the...
Jan Venegor of Hesseling. Van Dam.
Venegor, yeah. Venegor, Van Dam. Why are we talking? Van Gogh. So, the chat's just going crazy about all the Van surnames.
Tiki Dude is saying about the possibility of Liverpool rotation considering their Champions League game could possibly happen. That's why I'm kind of a bit worried now, but hopefully it'll be a rotation for Mane, not for Gomez.
I mean, I don't know why, and I'm sure everyone's going to just be like telling me to shut up now, but I just have this horrible feeling that Salah's not going to play 90 minutes. I really do. I do.
Well, I mean, it could be the case that, Liverpool storm into a lead and then, excuse the pun today, and then second half, with half an hour to go, give them a rest. Yeah,
can happen. Definitely can happen. But yes, have we got anyone? Steve-O didn't decide to come on in the end. I think he's probably just chilling out, ready to go to sleep because he's got to be up at 3 a.m, most likely. Salah's going to play 89 minutes. So there we go. He isn't going to play 90 minutes. There we go, says Vincent in chat. I really am gutted that we don't have the any more football to talk about today. We've just had...
Well, I'll tell you what, completely random.
Yes, go on.
AC Milan, Inter Milan, Lukaku, Ibrahimovic. Get a prediction for that? Nothing to do with FPL, but it is a big game in terms of...
It's got to be Ibrahimovic for me. Ibrahimovic for me, definitely.
Oh man, it's quite an exciting game actually. Like to think that Ibrahimovic is back now, and it's kind of, he's in the twilight of his career and playing such a massive game. I'll say I've always liked AC Milan, so I'm going to say AC Milan will win. But obviously Eriksen playing for Inter Milan now, former FPL asset for many people. I'm sure Booners probably doesn't care that he's gone because he wasn't really playing for the team this season. But yeah, Inter Milan's the better team at the moment. I know that's nothing to do with FPL, but
No,
it's it's kind of interesting. So that's what it's got to this game week. We're talking about Italian football, but
I mean, we're waiting now. We're waiting until Friday evening for the next game, and admittedly, some people are going to have 2, 3, perhaps even 4 players playing in this game. Wolves versus Leicester, Friday the 14th. I can't even remember what my prediction was for this game. I think I said Wolves were going to win, but both teams would score. Nothing to do with the fact, of course, that I've got Jimenez up front. But yeah, it's a decent game. At least we're going back to Friday night. At least it's a decent fixture to watch.
Definitely, yeah.
And I might even try to get a stream going as well, because to make up for the fact that we didn't do a live stream today. I know for certain that the Norwich Liverpool game, we're going to do a stream on Saturday the 15th. We'll do a stream at 5:30 covering that one. So we know that there's going to be a chance Friday evening to do a stream, and again on the Saturday evening as well for Liverpool. I think that will pretty much, unless we do something Sunday surgery possibly, to go through what's happened as well. Could well happen on Sunday. I'll speak to Steve. I might have to do it solo. So you're looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday streams, and the Chelsea Man United Monday night. I might even do that as well. So there we go. When you're married, Llama, it's not the same, is it? When you're married, Valentine's Day.
You probably shouldn't be saying that live.
Right. Anyway. Right. So yes, I want to just bring up, because Steve-O spoke to me earlier on and said that there is a certain thing that's happening. Here we go. The Football Content Awards is happening this year, like every year. It's been going for quite some time now. It's scheduled for the 21st of May this year. And I don't know when they're going to open the votes for it. But it's probably in the article that I haven't read yet. But it would be really cool if we could get some votes for that and nominated to it. So we'll talk about it a little bit more. As I know more about it, because I only found out about it literally like 2 hours ago. So we'll see what this is all about, and who knows, maybe we could get a nomination. That would be insane, wouldn't it, if we could go to the Spurs stadium.
Spurs stadium, is it?
Yeah.
It sounded so positive.
It was going well, wasn't it? But yeah, it's a brand new stadium. It'd be amazing to go there. I've not been there. But yeah, that's something else as well. If you've enjoyed the stream, we've made the best of it, guys. We've done the best we can. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. If you're new here, click the little bell for notifications when we go live. Sometimes we just do a quick stream like today, where we literally give like 20 minutes notification on Discord and Twitter. So if you miss those, at least you get the notification on YouTube. Hit us up on social media. Who better to talk about social media than Dan here, who is the guru, the expert, the man who does the Instagram. Dan, how's the Instagram looking?
It's not been active recently, but I did post about this stream today. So at Elite FPL, keep an eye on the stories as well. Be more active on that. Obviously, you've got Twitter as well. Yourself and Steve-O, and at Elite FPL as well. So keep in touch with that. I feel like I'm doing the admin now. But yeah, if you're on Instagram, get in touch, follow the page. As I say, keep an eye on the stories. So when you guys stream, obviously you guys do a lot of impromptu streams. So sometimes I don't post for that, but I also update it when I see on YouTube that you're going live. Obviously, you guys tell me that you're going to go live. But yeah, thanks for having me on. And obviously, I'm going to do it for you now. But if you've enjoyed the stream, like it, comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you tell your friends, and have a good week.
Yeah, that's great, guys. We look forward to seeing you hopefully Friday evening. You've been legends for being here today, and stay safe in the weather. Don't go out in the storm. Don't get wet. If you do, take an umbrella. and I will hopefully see you Friday. And take care.